Okidoki. Is Agnes Tachyon a yandere? If you don't know who this is, Agnes Tachyon comes from the hit gacha game and anime series Uma Musume, where it's basically racehorses, but anime girls. Tachyon is one of many Umamusumes. If I had to describe her character as quickly as possible, she is a scientist that likes to experiment on people, especially you, her trainer. Now, you hear that and you might think, oh, maybe she is a yandere. I love you. Let me cut you open and inject you with needles. If you did think that, then you've fallen for my carefully constructed trap. I have tricked you into thinking this way. There's a bit more to Agnes Tachyon, so let's find out whether she truly is a yandere or not. So, considering Umamusume is a multimedia franchise, the best place to start would be her first appearance, right? Which would be this OVA called BNW. Hey look, there she is right now.
Hello, monkey!
Anyways, Beginning of a New Era is a movie about Jungle Pocket, an up-and-coming Umamusume looking to race in the famous Twinkle Series, joining the prestigious Tracken Academy so that she can train to be the very best, like no one ever was. I love her, she's adorable, Kabadomi Poke. Agnes Tachyon plays a major role in this movie, acting as Poke's main rival. You see her make her first appearance, and the first word that pops into your head is probably unnerving. The way she stares straight through you, the way she smiles so unnaturally, the absolutely domineering presence of just being next to her. She's a bit creepy, not gonna lie. Her first interaction with Poke, while played off as a joke, already says a lot about her character. She basically introduces herself by groping Poke's legs, analysing every part of her qualities, her bones, her muscles, her joints, her speed. Which is interesting because the only other time we've seen this behaviour is with Trainer-san from Season 1, where he also checks out how strong Special Week's legs are. Agnes Tachyon at first does not seem to have the same camaraderie you see from normal Umamusume. She actually feels closer to one of the human horse trainers. Her first instinct is to not want to race you, but to evaluate you and your capabilities. This is where we see her mad scientist gimmick play into her character. She is in the pursuit of surpassing the limit of Umamusume, or to put it simply, to reach even higher speeds than is currently recorded. Umamusume can run at about 70 kilometers per hour, which is a little over the speed limit for suburban areas. Pretty damn fast for someone running on their own 2 feet. But Tachyon begs the question, can they go any faster? That is Tachyon's obsession. That is what drives her research. All her analyzing, her data collection, her plans.
しかしやはりプラン A だけ進めていくのもリスクが大きい。検証に必要な思考回数が未知な状態で。
I wonder what Plan A is. Although she may care more about research than racing, don't let that fool you into thinking that she isn't much of a runner. Agnes Tachyon is a menace on a racetrack, having never been beaten in her entire life. And I really love how absolutely monstrous she feels when she runs. That low sci-fi hum that whistles throughout her running, the bouncing sound effects like particles rapidly firing all around her. Her running being compared to a jet plane, her very body multiplying before being consumed by the numerous colors as if she is merging with light itself to reach even greater speeds. The audience being so entranced by her running to the point that it seems like they're being brainwashed the way the commentator can only repeat her name over and over as the distance between her and the others behind her grows wider and wider. The way her leg moves so fast that it breaks. I mentioned how Tachyon has never been beaten in her entire life, and while that is impressive, part of the reason for that amazing record is that she only ever ran in 4 races. Agnes Tachyon took the world by storm, surpassing everyone around her, and then she just disappeared. Which makes for a pretty interesting rival, one that you can no longer beat. There's definitely a manipulative aspect to Tachyon. It might be obvious of how she views everyone as guinea pigs to experiment on, but her relationship with Poke, the impact that she has on her, feels very deliberate. She's kind of a rage baiter, recognizing how Poke pushes herself when faced with strong opponents, and decides to become the strongest opponent she could ever ask for. She riles her up, referring to Poke as the loser of last December's race. She accepts Poke's rivalry by talking down to her and trash talking her, asking her to do your best to catch up to me, why don't you? And then once they run against each other, where Tachyon again beats Poke in the Satsuki show, she stops running altogether. She creates this strong opponent for Poke to chase after, searing her back, getting further and further away into Poke's eyes, and then rips away the privilege of ever beating her. All Poke can do now is chase after an unbeatable ghost that she will never catch up to. Plan B is in motion. Which is pretty apt for beginning of a new era, because most of the major characters are in some way chasing after a ghost. Manhattan Cafe sees an invisible friend that is always running ahead of her. Fuji Kiseki injured herself, forcing her to retire before she could race in the Japanese Derby, the one race she sought after the most. Trainer Tanabe was unable to become a Derby trainer when Kiseki injured herself, regretting that he couldn't do more for her. Even Tachyon, who we have already mentioned, is chasing after what lies beyond the potential of Umamusume's. So, why did Agnes Tachyon stop running? Remember how Umamusume is a multimedia franchise? Well, while it first started as an anime, this was always meant to be a gacha game, and a gacha game it did become. In fact, a global version has come out, and hey look, Agnes Tachyon is one of the characters you can pull. She's a 1-star too, so she's pretty easy to get. I wonder what she's like in the game. Tachyon in-game is very flippant, not really committed to racing. You, as the trainer, are currently trying to push Tachyon to race in the classic Triple Crown, which are the Satsuki show, the Japanese Derby, and the Kikika show, 3 prestigious races that very few Umamusumes have won. While you are filled with ambition, Tachyon states that she cannot promise that she will actually participate in these races, because she wants to focus on her research. It's very similar to how she behaves in the movie, seemingly not caring about running all that much to the point of constantly skipping training. However, it's less that she's not committed to racing and more so that she's hesitant to commit. You might have noticed some of the clues alluding to Tachyon's attitude, the imagery of Tachyon's legs shattering, clutching her foot while nervously smiling, Manhattan Cafe pointing out that she is running differently from usual, the constant mentions of Plan A and Plan B. After racing in the Kikika show, Agnes Tachyon reveals that she has been dealing with a problem with her legs. To put it simply, her legs are unfortunately really fragile, enough so that if she pushes herself too hard, it may result in a critical injury. I played Agnes Tachyon's career after I watched Beginning of a New Era, and I feel like that is the best way to experience Agnes Tachyon's character arc, because of how this one scene just made everything fit into place. Behind her enigmatic smile, behind her domineering and unhinged personality, Agnes Tachyon is afraid of failure. The plan A and B we keep seeing were nothing more than a failsafe for her goal of seeing beyond the potential of Umamusume's. Plan A having her bet on her legs not breaking, and plan B having her rely on another Umamusume to break past that potential. In other words, giving up on achieving that dream herself. It paints a really sad picture, a girl who yearns to see a sight that has never been seen before, held back by her body that might fall apart at any minute. The way she looks at Poke near the end of the movie, wishing to race again, to run like her life depends on it, but afraid to make that step lest everything crumbles away. It mirrors her real-life counterpart, the horse that only ran in 4 races, a horse that won every single race, a horse that won the Satsuki show, the first of the classic Triple Crown, only to retire early due to flexor tendinitis, unable to reach her full potential, to race in the Japanese Derby and the Kika show, forced to become the Phantom Triple Crown winner. A horse that could have been, but never was. It's ironic really, by not running in the Twinkle series, Agnes Tachyon is in turn running away from the fate that befell her counterpart, which creates 3 altered versions of the same horse. The real Agnes Tachyon that retired and never reached her full potential, the movie Agnes Tachyon that gave up and let the Triple Crown slip from her grasp, and the game Agnes Tachyon, who, when given that extra push, decides to not give up. That's what's so beautiful about Agnes Tachyon. She isn't a yandere who wants to experiment on you because she loves you. She is a girl hiding her fears, tricking everyone with her crazed personality, wanting nothing more than to see what lies beyond that potential, the sight of true unrivaled speed. She traps herself in her own logic, believing that her body could never handle the strain of her dreams, restricting herself until it becomes almost unbearable to breathe, until someone comes to break her out of that shell, to revitalize the dream she once felt was unachievable. In the movie, Poke returns to her, doing what Tachyon did to her at the start and creating a strong opponent to chase after, helping her realize that there is no meaning to leaving it to someone else. If she wants to breach the domain of Umamusume, then she needs to reach it with her own legs, see it with her own eyes. In the game, she almost gives up and resorts to plan B, only to be convinced by our overwhelming belief in her, convincing her that it is worth pushing her body to the limit to really test whether or not she can withstand the pressure of her dreams. We help her realize that, contrary to her original hypothesis, her body can actually handle the strain, making her re-evaluate everything she thought was impossible and once again start running beyond the bounds of her own potential. This is Agnes Tachyon, a girl consumed by what-ifs, trapped by the fear of failure, pain, and disappointment. She is a beacon of light towards anyone who feels like giving up on chasing their dreams, who have hit a wall in their own potential. If you truly wish to stop running, then that is your decision to make. There is no right or wrong answers for chasing after your dreams. But if there's still a sliver of hope, if you still thirst for what lies further beyond, don't let yourself stop like Agnes Tachyon. Don't let yourself be left with nothing but regrets. If you still have it in you, if you believe it's still possible to keep going, then keep going. Just keep running.